On our very first episode of Screen, the tale of the glass slipper and the handsome prince in Cinderella. B returns to prison in Wentworth. And when do you or do you not keep a secret in Redfern Nah, the telemovie? And welcome to the very first episode of Screen. I'm Margaret Pomeranz.
And I'm Graeme Blundell. On Screen, we're going to be exploring the worlds of film and television with insight from those involved.
And just to be part of the XYZ generation, each week we're going to include someone who has their finger on the pulse of what's happening out there in cyberspace. Someone like Chaz Licciardello of The Chaser fame.
Hi, Margaret. Hi there, Graeme. I got to say, it's great to finally be on the show where I don't have to get naked. Thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure, trust me.
Yes. Definitely your pleasure.
Later on Screen, we have Deborah Mailman from Redfern Now, the telemovie, and Danielle Cormack from Wentworth.
But let's get into the movies first, Margaret, with Cinderella.
The age-old tale of Cinderella and her wicked stepmother, played with gusto by Cate Blanchett, is reinvented by director Kenneth Branagh with the help of modern visual effects. Cinderella, reduced to being a servant in her own home, is buoyed by her mother's mantra, "Be kind and have courage," and saved by her fairy godmother, a deliciously mischievous Helena Bonham Carter.
Well, I have to say, I really like this movie. I didn't think I would, because we identify Kenneth Branagh, the director, so much with Kurt Wallander now, the great Swedish detective, the poet detective, the sad, lachrymose man. So how, I thought, could Kenneth Branagh turn his talents to this great Disney tale?
Well, I thought, going in there, Cinderella, not again, oh, please. But to reinvent this story with so much energy and romance and humour,
but the sweetness and sincerity as well, which belies all cynicism, yes. It seems to me.
And the thing that I loved about it is that she's a feisty Cinderella. She's not a little wimp, you know, and I think Lily James really plays up to that.
Well, she's really courageous, isn't she? She's tough. Branagh talked about a Gandhi-like sense of resistance to the ugly sisters who terrorise her. And
that was the only problem I had with the film. You know, I thought, oh, please don't overdo the ugly sisters. And they are a bit garish.
I liked it. I thought there was a Shakespearean touch there. And, of course, Branagh is one of the great Shakespearean directors. I was sort of like light comic relief, you know. But what I didn't like, though, myself, was the mice. Those stupid little capering mice.
Oh,
that was absurd. Didn't like that.
No, I thought that moment where the pumpkins transformed into the coach and the mice into horses and the lizards into coachmen. Oh, honestly,
it was good. It had a nice surreal edge to it as well.
But it's so, you know, the visual effects in that were just absolutely stunning. But the most delicious thing for me was Helena Bonham Carter as the fairy godmother.
Ella, I almost forgot. Remember, the magic will only last so long. With the last echo of the last bell at the last stroke of midnight, the spell will be broken and all will return to what it was before.
Midnight?
Midnight.
That's more than enough time.
But the other thing, I mean, Cate Blanchett is great as the stepmother, but Sandy Powell's design of her costumes, I mean, they are...
Oscar there, an Oscar in the waiting, I think, there.
But they say so much about the character.
Who's this for? Is there someone we've forgotten?
It's my place.
Oh, it seems too much to expect you to prepare breakfast, serve it, and still sit with us. Wouldn't you prefer to eat when all the work is done, Ella? Or should I say Cinderella?
It was great to see Cate Blanchett as the wicked stepmother. Of course, she steps into a rich tradition of wicked stepmothers over the years. I mean, who could forget the 1931 rendition of The Wicked Stepmother by strange, unintelligible dog woman?
Oh, ain't I your stepmother?
Blistering pace.
Blistering.
Yes. Look, you gotta give it to them. That was a very special performance. But before long, they thought, no, it's time to get people to voice the stepmother who aren't zombies. So in 1969, they moved in a very different direction.
Where's what's her name?
Probably in the kitchen. Why?
Because I want to have a quiet little chat with her.
Where do you find these? They're amazing.
The internet has it all, Margaret. It's very scary. It's not often that the Muppets are the most realistic performers in the movie, but in that case, yes. In fact, after that, they decided they wanted a more restrained stepmother, a less flamboyant stepmother. So, in 1986, they went for a drag queen instead.
But she is going to the ball. There you are, child.
Thank you, stepmother.
Now tear it up.
You might have noticed a trend by now with some of these modern wicked stepmothers, and that is, well, I'll give you a clue. Have a look. They are all redheads. And I want to expose this Ranger prejudice right now. So you want to get an evil character? Well, let's make them a redhead, even when they're the mother of Muppets. It doesn't matter. They're always redheads. Why?
All right, all right. Thank you, Chaz. Yes, yes. Oh, now, Margaret, back to Cinderella. What are we going to give it? What are you going to give it in terms of stars?
Do you know, I was completely surprised and overwhelmed and delighted by this film. I really had a good time with it. I'm giving it 4 stars.
And I had an equally good time, and I'm also giving it 4 stars.
Well, now to television. Both series of Redfern Now were extraordinary and breakthrough experiences. Now, Redfern Now, the telemovie, dramatically explores issues of race and gender.
Redfern Now, the telemovie, brings back much-loved characters from the series to explore the impact of a violent crime on 2 women, played superbly by Deborah Mailman and Radaway Hick. And the fight for justice that follows threatens to split families and relationships within the community. Powerfully written, filmed and directed, Redfern Now, the telemovie, persuasively dramatises just how easily lives turn on quirks of fate on the streets of inner-city Sydney.
It's just so great to welcome award-winning actress, the star of Redfern Now, the telemovie, the fabulous Deborah Mailman, to our first show. Deb, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's an honour to be here.
And how fabulous you are in this very tragic and very demanding piece of television as well.
Thank you. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a very powerful piece, and again, to come back to the Redfern Now family, to be working again with Rachel Perkins.
Rachel was the one to first cast you in Radiance,
Yes.
all those years ago.
All those years ago. It was in 1997, so...
Yeah.
So that's before The Secret Life of Us, even.
Yes.
And in fact, you know, Rachel has been a powerhouse in bringing Indigenous stories to the screen and making them so successful.
Absolutely, and I've been very fortunate that I've established that relationship with her as a friend, but also within that working relationship. So to have the experience of doing Radiance, Marbo, and now Redfern Now, it's a great honour and a privilege for me as an actor, but also as an Aboriginal woman.
I'll get a cab. Yeah, come on in. Hey! Look at that. Look. Look. Do I need to say more? Don't worry about it. Oh. Never mind, you two black. Let me get it. Sad one. Golden white girl. What do you call a white girl? Oh. Redfern, we're just going to Everleigh Street.
What a strong scene that is, isn't it?
It says so much, doesn't it? That scene right at the beginning of the,
That's right.
of the telemovie.
But also, at the time, I think the writers were thinking about the idea for this telemovie. There were, I think, a couple of prolific Aboriginal artists that were denied taxis, and I think there was one event that was reported in the papers that happened in Melbourne. So this sort of sparked this beginning scene about 3 girls can't get a taxi and then have to walk home, and then what happens from that.
The other element of Redfern Now, the telemovie, that I was impressed with was that it's not just the story of Redfern Now and the Indigenous community. It's a story also of women who, don't report a rape, or when they do, you know, have a simply horrible experience because of that. I just want to go to this scene from the courtroom because I think it says it all.
Yep.
You'd say you're an honest person, wouldn't you, Mrs. Blake? Oh, it is Mrs., isn't it?
Yes. And yes.
And you're sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's true, isn't it, that you've defrauded the Commonwealth Government of welfare payments in the range of $60,000. In the face of that, Mrs. Blake, how can you say that you're an honest person?
I am an honest person.
But I just asked you if you were an honest person, and you failed to admit that you've committed a fraud. So in saying that, you've just lied to the jury, haven't you, Mrs. Blake?
I didn't lie.
Yes, you did. The simple question I asked of you is, are you an honest person? Now, honest people don't lie. Can you tell me you didn't just lie?
You could call it a lie.
There's such stillness and so much emotion in that scene from you. How did it actually feel playing it?
Pretty much that.
Pretty much
Like,
what we
yeah,
see,
it felt
yeah.
very... because the whole way through, Lorraine is saying, I'm not going to cry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry until he is found, you know, to get what she wants. So it is containing, but then she's being crucified on the sand.
But you maintain a gorgeous strength within that character all through, no matter what. And I think that's, you know, really important as well.
Thank you, yeah. Well, I guess that's part of the texture of the telemovie, is that you do see two very different responses to, you know, what's happened to these women. You have the young woman played by Rada Roy who is dealing with it in a completely different way. I think Lorraine, we've established her over the series as someone very fiercely independent, very strong. She's now a single mother. So I think she's just, you know, she presents herself as a steel pole, I guess.
Deb, thanks so much for being with us on this inaugural program.
You're our sister here.
You're just such a great role model and an absolute shining star of our industry. So, and you're also gorgeous in action. Let's see you now.
Roman, I thought I was never going to see our kids again. I was thinking, who's going to look after them? You want to do something for me? Stay here. Look after the kids.
She's so impressive, and so is Kelton Bell. I'm very impressed with this telly movie. I would give it 4 stars.
I would give it 4.5 stars, Margaret. Loved it. And you can catch more of our interview with Deborah Mailman online at Foxtel Arts and on our Facebook page.
Coming up on screen, the new series of Wentworth and a film from the makers of The Untouchables.
And Chaz has more fascinating content from the wider world of screen. Can you give us just a little hint, Chaz?
OK. I'm going to be introducing you to a movie which, on movie review site Rotten Tomatoes, got 0%.
That's got to be a record.
And we can look forward to that after the break.
Oh, wow. Welcome back. Well, I can't wait to talk to Danielle Cormack from the new series of Wentworth. But first, Graham's going to fill us in on where we're up to in the series.
Well, it's 4 months since Bea Smith, played by Danielle Cormack, escaped and murdered the man who killed her daughter. But now she's back in prison with one aim in mind: to bring down prison governor Joan the Freak Ferguson, played by Pamela Rabe. It's menacing, dark, bitchy and riveting television.
Danielle, it's so great to see you here, unbruised, fit and gorgeous.
I don't know about fit and gorgeous, but I'm certainly unbruised. Great to be here.
It's a terribly physical role in Wentworth for you.
Yes, it is. It requires me to be reasonably fit. In fact, in the second season, the producer, Amanda Crittenden, she pulled me over to the side and she said, "Is there any chance you could look like Linda Hamilton from the Terminator 2 at the end of season 2? So I went about training and, you know, trying to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and having the diet of a bodybuilder. I don't know if I achieved what my goal was, But yeah, it certainly helped in terms of the stamina and energy that was required for those fight scenes.
You
in the long
look
days.
really on top of your body in the series.
Does that help too with the emotion? Because you bring enormous emotion to scenes without actually seeming to do very much, which is a sign of really great acting, I think.
Well, it's probably because I was in a state of pain the whole time, because of the amount of training that I was doing.
Holding it all in.
Yeah,
Right.
and just the lack of sleep. But, you know, Wentworth, that world, it requires so much of you. And, I mean, for me, it's the ultimate fantasy job, you know, it's just continually playing high stakes. You know, there's never a dull moment. It's just, you know, I get to exercise that acting muscle all the time on that show. There's never, ever a dull moment for B.
Before we go any further, I think we've got to join in the celebrations of your return to prison in the new series. Do you know what's great about the series, I think, is the game playing. And you've got that line in the first episode of the new series where you say, we're all playing each other. And it's true, not just the prisoners, but the governor, the guy on the board. It's so well written.
The research that I did before season 1 began was very extensive, and I got to speak to inmates whilst they were still inside, ex-inmates and guards who had worked both in females and male prisons. And the guards unanimously responded with, you know, female prisons are much more dangerous than male prisons because of the psychology of them, that women prisoners, inmates are much more wily. And so I think season 3 really explores that. It's a much darker, it's a much more subterranean feel than what the other series have been, 1 and 2. And people start to play games where they manipulate each other psychologically, and it's riveting drama because there was a lot of violence in series 2.
So let's look at Pamela Rabe as the governor.
What happened to Liz?
She's in medical. But she'll survive.
What sort of human being puts another person at risk just to prove a point?
You don't run this prison, Smith. I do. Bon appetit.
Wow, what about that?
To the credit of the show, the writing, the directing, even the music, I think the music is fantastic, the soundtrack's great, that you attract the stature of performers that you've got in this. I mean, I looked at Orange is the New Black, and I've got to tell you, Wentworth leaves it for dead.
Do you think so?
Absolutely.
See, I think this is a really interesting conversation that's happening around these two shows.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for Orange is the New Black because I think that it's become an amazing leverage for Wentworth. So people, you know, in whatever platform it's seen, the people are naturally going to compare them because they're both set in the same environment, prison.
Yeah.
But Orange is the New Black it's a dramedy. It's forged a whole new genre in television. And Wentworth is, yes, it's much more gritty and it's darker and everything.
Yeah, I like that.
But I think there's a strength of Orange is the New Black that Wentworth doesn't necessarily have. I think they explore the minutiae of prison life a lot more than what we do. And the choices that we make in our show, they are more gritty, they're more dangerous. So I think, you know, that they complement each other really beautifully.
I'll give it a bit more of a go.
But I also think it's fantastic. There are 2 shows that are incredibly popular in the world with both men and women, with 2 predominantly female casts and storylines. It's great.
Danielle, thank you so much for joining us on our inaugural show. It's so great.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
And I think we ought to end with a clip from the new series of Wentworth.
What's the problem?
There's no problem, Mr. Jackson.
Well, there's got to be something you want to talk about.
You come any closer and someone's going to get hurt.
Okay. Yep.
I mean it.
All right.
You tell them to get out of here! Now!
Back off!
Now!
Back off now. Take it easy, Max.
Kevin Carlin, who has directed a lot of them, has done a great job. I mean, really...
So cinematic, isn't it?
Everything about this, the script, the performances, the direction, the sound. I mean, Really, Graham? What's to pick bones at this one?
It's 5 stars from me.
Me too. And I cannot believe I'm doing this. But it's 5 stars. I cannot pick a fault with it.
I can't either. Love it. And you can see more of our interview with Danielle on our website. And there's also an Alan Rickman interview where he's talking to Margaret about their shared passion. Oh, and no, it's about movies. Sorry, Margaret. His in particular, and it's called A Little Chaos.
And now to Samba, a film from the makers of that crowd pleaser, The Untouchables. Time has run out for Samba, a Senegalese restaurant worker in Paris, played by Omar Sy. He's given an official order to leave France, but the intervention of voluntary social worker Charlotte Gainsbourg, who is herself under stress after a breakdown, leads to a tentative relationship between the two. His attempts to dodge the system with his mate Wilson, Tahar Rahim, are both fraught and funny.
I quite enjoyed this film. It's a bit of a crowd pleaser with a lot of Hollywood style about it from the two youngish directors, but in the end I found it a bit scattered. The love story rather uneasily set against the immigrant story.
I must say I found that a bit difficult to believe. You see, I think they want it to be too many things in one. They want it to be a social commentary. They want it to be this sort of almost slapstick comedy at times. And they want us to believe in this romance. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
It was difficult to believe in, but then the acting styles were a bit disparate as well.
Yeah.
He's an amazing presence, but not with a great deal of acting skills. And she is the most extraordinary actor to watch. She is all skill.
He apparently started out in sketch comedy on television. Chaz, eat your heart out.
You're day okay, Chaz.
I'll be respected.
You'll be in a romantic comedy one day, Chaz, don't worry.
But just what would you rate this as a movie in terms of stars?
Well, as much as I enjoyed it, I'd only give it about 2.5.
Oh, you are definitely meaner than me. I'm giving this 3.5. I think there's a lot of stuff in here, and I wasn't a mad fan of The Untouchables. But I think before we go, we've just got to see the two of them together.
Qu'est-ce que vous faites ici, avec un mec comme moi à 3 heures du matin? Vous voulez pas le dire? Ça doit être grave alors.
Have you noticed that there are people out there who ferret out the funniest, most bizarre and entertaining moments on the small screen? Funny little ferrets they all are, like Chaz.
Well, look, you got the ferret bit right, but I'll tell you a movie that got absolutely nothing right, and that is Mac and Me from 1988. This is the movie I present to you today. Now, we all loved E.T. back in 1982, and apparently that included a bunch of very slow-moving film execs who took 6 years to blatantly rip it off. And let me tell you, they didn't spend 6 years working on the special effects. But the thing that elevates this movie from merely awful to worst ever...
Oh, no, there's more?
Oh, there's more. The commercial partnership this movie has with McDonald's. Not that I want to suggest that it's all McDonald's product placement, because no, there's product placement for many other products as well.
Ooh, he likes this. Here, see if he likes this.
The alien-like skills.
An endorsement from the alien.
It's very subtle, isn't it? Did you pick it? Look, but for all the flaws of this movie, and trust me, there are a lot of flaws. It at least has a heartwarming moral at the end of the story.
That's it. See, Mac?
She's gonna be okay, Mac.
Although, admittedly, Coke does have so much sugar, it probably could wake the dead.
Chaz, I would never have discovered that world if it hadn't been for you.
Pity be to you.
Thank you very much. And that's the show. Thank you so much for joining us on screen.
And we'll be back next week with more films, more television, more guests and more fun. See you then.
Goodbye. Next time on screen, Jude Law takes us on a risky venture in Black Sea. Game of Thrones returns, and we look at Xavier Dolan's acclaimed film, Mommy.